Welcome to Proof Beyond Reason, week 70,000.
That would be dope.
Imagine. Real quick, what are we on? Week 5 already?
This
is week 6?
Week 6, yeah.
It is going, guys, we just started this thing.
I'm excited about it.
Yeah, week 6. So thank you guys for tuning in. Let's give a real quick shout out to our sponsor, Matthew Movement. Wear what you believe.
Wear it.
You can catch them at MatthewMovement.com. Hot clothing. Super dope graphics on those tees. And we got Geology in the building.
What's up?
Yes, sir.
He's got his link on. He said he wasn't going to be doing his link again, but he's definitely linked up right now. Yep. So that's link from Zelda, just so we know.
That's right. Yo, so this man.
I always thought
that's only because I went to MegaCon as Link.
That's why.
No, this dude, he had on, so he had like hyper yellow hair. And I didn't know what was going on.
Really?
So I didn't say nothing. I just saw him with the hair. I'm like, all right, so he's got something going on, so I'm going to let him be. I won't say nothing. Then I saw the pics of him going to MegaCon. He mentioned it, but I didn't put the two together. And then he was dressed like Zelda, and I started cracking up. I was like, look at G.
Yeah. I seen the pics. It looked awesome.
Yeah.
I always thought that Zelda was Link until I played the game, and I was like, no, this is Zelda. Zelda's the princess. And it blew my mind. Like
Zelda's
I
not the
wouldn't
princess.
see me dressed up as that though.
Yeah.
Zelda is the princess?
Yeah, Zelda's the girl. Yeah.
For real?
Yeah.
And why were you dressed like Zelda?
No, he was dressed like Link from Zelda.
Oh,
so the green guy.
The green dude is not.
The green
Look
dude
at
is
me. Mad
not
stupid.
Zelda. That's how I
Yo,
felt.
mad dumb.
Yeah.
I feel so stupid.
It's like saying Mario, and then you always see Mario, but Mario is really Princess
That's
Peach.
what I'm saying.
So they put Princess Peach up, but it's really Mario's game. Like it's Link the
That's
whole
so
time.
weird.
Yeah.
That name Zelda's dope though. Like
Zelda's-
the name
yeah,
is
Zelda's
strong.
cool.
Like
The
why
game
would-
is awesome,
They should have
too,
named
man.
him Zelda. What's
Yeah.
the problem?
Yeah. So we got Mike the Baptist too with us.
Yeah, feeling mad stupid right now. All these years, I thought he was like, that's crazy.
Mike the backflip. That's it.
Crazy.
We got Ivan the Average or Religion Man, whichever. We're gonna get our Twitters soon.
My
and
Twitter's
when
up already.
so their Twitters are up, but I'm gonna have the 17 different accounts that you guys can hit me on, and just whichever one gets
Just gotta try it. See what happens.
gets more comments, then I'll go ahead and take it in that direction. But we're gonna be talking more about evil. Last week we spoke about the problem of evil. Before that, we were speaking about occults and just diving more into that. This week, I'm super excited because let's just dive into evil and celebrating it.
Yeah, what does that look like? What does that sound like? Like,
Let's dive in. So last week, we were talking about evil and the essence of evil, kind of defining evil and trying to figure out what evil is, the question if there is a problem of evil. And I think this week we'll dive deeper and find out, is evil celebrated? Like I think about that, and one thing that I see is it's funny, but I had a pastor way back in the day that literally had an hour sermon about how if we're clapping, we better clap for Jesus the way we just clapped for LeBron James.
Crazy.
At the finals. Like, and then it
went.
went.
The thing is, right now, I mean, LeBron just crossed him over and dunked on him. Like, it's tough. Pastor, you ain't dunked, baby. Like,
cross no one over.
I see you dunk, baby. Like,
no magical pass. The pastor isn't down 2 points, you know. He's not 2-1 in home.
He's up right now. He's up.
No, so he went in. I'm talking about like went in for a whole, the 4-hour sermon, and like it made me feel when I got home like turning on the television and watching basketball, or turning on the television watching whatever it was that I was watching.
Oh, you went to the opposite.
Was evil.
You
like
felt convicted.
Yeah, was totally like, yo, I'm doing wrong, because when I get to church, I'm not doing, or I'm not as hype, or I'm not as tuned in as I am to these things as I am at church. And so I got that conviction, but I really felt like I was doing something like evil, like it was out. And to his point, I think there was a push to that. Like, you guys celebrate evil too much. Like, all of this stuff in the end, has something that can be seen as a praising of an evil, or and of course we have idols, but how far does that go? And how I just see that as so far, so far.
I mean, the idolatry piece is pretty legit. You know, if you think about it, how many millions upon billions we make or of revenue that is poured into the sports industry or any of these entertainment avenues. But to say we're celebrating evil? No, but I mean, like, within our hearts, it can become a process of idolatry. I mean, I know plenty of people that will rock, you know, the football jersey, the house is decked out in whatever it is, and they don't necessarily idolize the team or the people. Their life doesn't speak to that. On the other hand, you know, you may have the hardcore fans of whatever, and they will sacrifice everything. They will sacrifice parents and
get
children.
Those annual tickets.
Yeah, I mean, they'll sacrifice finances or whatever's necessary to celebrate the team. So there is some evil in that.
If somebody told me what I needed to do for the Magic to win, I'm doing it.
I'm not doing it. Magic is not my team.
I haven't seen them win ever, but I get what you're saying. Like, I don't like the comparisons, and that's what kills me when it becomes a now comparison thing where it's like, yo, you got that jersey in your closet and you have that picture of your favorite team in your closet, but where's the verse?
Where's the picture of Jesus?
Where's the picture of Jesus?
Right.
By the way, that he was real light-skinned in that picture.
For real, like,
you know,
hey,
like,
Pastor, I don't know, but I don't think he was blue-eyed. Like, I'm not saying he wasn't. I'm just saying I'm
like,
pretty
Jesus
sure based on the region.
It was hot out. Like,
just saying,
the sun was blazing.
Based on the region, I'm pretty sure.
It's the Middle East.
Yeah, you know, I get it. Yeah, I mean, I get it. Not that it's an extreme, because Christian life should be and seem extreme to people around us. It should. We should be so in love with Jesus. We should be so willing to be unashamed of our faith that it appears to be extreme to others. But yeah, I mean, I think that's a tough comparison.
To
like, come
clarify
on,
it
fam.
as like, I'm celebrating evil. That really, I think, is that second layer of, if I see that as evil, if I'm looking at this thing and I'm being idolatrous. But there's things that we can clearly come to a group thought and say, you know what? Yeah, this is definitely evil. You see a show, and a show like The Bachelor, right? You got a show like The Bachelor. This show's going on. It's 15 women, one man.
That's crazy.
You know what I'm saying? And that's being celebrated. Like, people gotta watch The Bachelor. Like, they set up days for when the first episode, because you get to see the guy, this bachelor that gets to be with all 15 women know that they're getting cheated on. All 15 of them, and they're straight. They're okay with it. Why? Because it's competitive. But it's not only being celebrated by the women that are in there, but it's being celebrated by America, by not just our country, but by multiple countries and people in the world, that this is okay. And it's just, I think we're going to speak more and more today on this evil, this comparing evil, or my fault, this evil in our culture. No, not evil in our culture. What's that word? That we're celebrating evil. That the celebration of evil is now we're going to be comparing it a lot.
Yeah. I'm good with that.
I mean, we see that a lot. I remember growing up as a kid and then just sitting down with my mother watching the novelas. I know we all seen it if we're in Hispanic households. Like the girl yelling out Roberto, and then all of a sudden like you get slapped because he was cheating or doing something like that. But you'll see your parents like yelling, "Oh my God, they found out! Why?" Or they're in love with it. But yet, that we see that commonly. Drama. We can even touch upon like music, like. We hear about the people saying that they have to be materialistic or they have to have this thing or they have to have 20 girls. But yet we take it all in and we're just rejoicing on that fact that, yes, we have to do that, or yes, that's acceptable only because someone in that position or have that level of fame does it. We think it's acceptable.
So is it, can we say that evil is definitely being celebrated?
Yo, it's crazy. I was years ago, I was wrestling with this Christian thing, just being a Christian or people pushing me in a direction I didn't want to go. Like I wasn't Christian. People were trying to preach to me and I wasn't trying to hear it. I was in the clubs. I was, doing my thing, listening to music that said whatever. And where I was working, I would blast my music and a dude challenged me on the music. Many people challenged me on the music I was listening to that were of the Christian faith. And I didn't want to hear them. But then one day, one of the guys asked me, he said, "Yo, man, have you really listened to what you're listening to? Like, think about what you're listening to for a second." So I dismissed it or whatever. And I'm listening, boom. And, this is when Big Pun had his album. It was I think
this
it was
years
this was
ago.
years ago, fam. You know what I'm saying? I am old. I'm an older gentleman here.
So we all know how old Mike the Baptist.
Shush. So anyway, so Mike the Baptist is old. So I was listening to Big Pun and Ludacris, and it just dawned on me like what they were saying. One of the songs, Big Pun, he was talking about. He was like, "I'm the devil." He just started hitting you off with some things. And I paused for a second when I heard that. And I was like, did he just say what he said? What I thought he said? And then whatever, fast forward, I'm listening to some other tracks, kind of ignoring the lyrics. And then suddenly the lyrics stood out to me. I was listening to Ludacris. And this will really tell you my age. But he was, in the song, he was, shut up. The track was like, "Bang, bang, kill a man, let his brains hang. And when I'm in the court, plead guilty, insane." Like, what in the world? Like, I just like.
How does he still know those lyrics?
Sure. You'd be surprised.
That's word for word.
Put Coolio on, dude. I'm gonna just hit you up with Fantastic
LL.
Voyage. LL, throw some LL on that joint. And it was crazy just to think about the violence, the promotion of violence. In those tracks, the celebration of violence, the celebration of
these cats get awards for that.
That's what I'm saying. So it didn't really hit me until that time period, and that's when huge conviction entered my heart, and I really started paying attention to what I was listening to. So I would check online to read lyrics, and then listen to lyrics. But at that time, they didn't necessarily have websites that were dedicated to showing you lyrics. So I would listen and write the lyrics down and then read them. And I was just reading them. I was like, wow, look at what these dudes are saying. Like, if you just read the lyrics, don't listen to the beat. Just read the lyrics. And imagine me sitting in a room saying the things that some of these cats are rapping or singing about. That would be a weird dinner conversation, to be honest. It's just a weird conversation in general. Yeah. And
I had that with DMX.
Yeah,
when I was my coming, dude. When I was being transformed, and this is that process, man, it was so hard. I had and then there was X, and I took one car ride, and I was throwing them out of the window. But I
did the same thing. That's crazy.
Yeah. And I kept that one, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna keep this under my seat. So I kept it under my seat.
Yeah, because I'll ignore the lyrics. It's just the beats. It's the beats that is dope.
But I mean, he's got his songs like Damien, and then and I would say, you know what? But he's really praying to the Lord, because he gives that one prayer every soundtrack. But it doesn't help that no matter what.
There's celebration of evil within that, right?
Definitely.
But I mean, we're seeing that more nowadays. Say, for example, we can have like what I have my friends usually tell me, like Kendrick, he's talking about God, so it doesn't necessarily mean that it's all like bad or evil.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's something we have to be aware of. I mean, scripture does specifically tell us that everything is good, but not everything is beneficial for us.
Yeah.
So we always have to watch out what we surround ourselves with, what we watch, what we eat. So I get in a way what your pastor was saying, but I mean necessarily him saying it like that. If you look at it technically in an aspect of religion, how Jesus described it, that intent was also evil in essence.
Oh, like the religious systems
the
that they were trying
religious-
to yeah.
Like I have to have the religious trophy on my wall, and I gotta
Correct,
have the cross, and I gotta follow this, and why wasn't I there Sunday morning?
Right. When I walk around, I gotta say, Dios te
Yeah,
bendiga,
yeah.
hermano. You know, God bless you, brother. I gotta say that because if I don't say it that way, then I'm not Christian. Like, you're not. And I mean, that's not my style. Like, just personally, like, I'm not knocking anybody who does it. Anybody's listening, if you do it, that's great. But that's just not me. So if I don't do it, what? You know?
Yeah, you messed up.
I know I am. I'm so messed up.
But I think it's funny because now it's easier. We're in an age that it's so much more easier because of the internet and because of the computers that we hold in our hands as phones. It's so much more easier to celebrate evil now. And sometimes we can celebrate evil without even really knowing.
Yep.
Really, you're sitting there scrolling, and then you're like, oh, dang. Like, and you have no idea what you're watching, but because it's so accessible and just all the videos. I was watching a video. It was last week, and my boys had the video, sent me the video, and this video, I'm telling you, if you guys saw this video, you would lose your lunch. Like, it was really, or there's something wrong with you, you know? It could be that you like the video. Dude it was in Jamaica, and
Yeah, man.
yeah, and all you see is this guy super scared to death. And the dude obviously has his phone out, but then you see that he's holding a pistol in his hand. The guy with the phone that's pointing at this dude, and the dude is scared. And then the guy starts saying something, and then starts screaming, and then bah, 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 shoots off like 3 shots. And the guy, it seems like he missed him. I think he missed him. And right there, I just thought like, okay, this is the video that I'm watching. I'm like, yo, he got away. Like I was excited. I was like, yo, he got away. And then all of a sudden, the video just turned mad gory. Like the dude just started busting shots at him, emptied out. It was an extended clip, so it was definitely 30 rounds. And he was just hitting this guy while he was running. The guy fell like maybe 15 yards in front of him. And him and some other guy that you had no idea ran up to his body while he was trying to get up and unloaded every bullet they had. Every single bullet. So the guy that was alive is now dead. And then they took the clip out, put a new clip in, and put the camera next to his head and started unloading clips into his head. It was too far, but the craziest thing was, not only were the people around me kind of like, yo, look at that. It's no joke. Like, yo, like kind of like, yo, that's where I'm from. You know what I'm saying? Like, But the people in the video were flipping out. Like screaming like they had just won something. Like, yeah. And you could tell that they were just like vibing on this. Like, this is it. Like, yeah. I mean, that's the celebration of evil. That's disgusting right now. That's just like, and that's happening. G, you were saying it. That's happening everywhere.
Yep.
Everywhere. That's crazy to think that the stuff like that is happening.
And I mean, I see common things like, say, for example, some of my old friends I used to talk to, we would chat it up and they would tell me, there was like, how do you know if someone's actually real or not? Is because, say, for example, I was raised, quote unquote, in the streets, but you try to get out. Why, as a part to someone who, say, for example, loves that style, like hears it or surrounds themselves with it, they want to be, say, for example, quote unquote, in it. But you always want to get out. You never want to actually be part of that life.
That makes sense.
Yeah, we see that nonstop now, but it's because, like we've been talking about, the music we listen to, the things we watch on TV. It's it's like amped up. We see people yelling out "World Star" as soon as someone fights.
Yo, World Stars
Yeah.
nuts. Like these
Crazy.
dudes, they just post all kinds of violence. Dudes getting knocked out,
and the likes and the comments.
that's not
after
something
that.
to celebrate. That no.
No, it's crazy.
You
And
fight if you have to, or you
defend yourself.
Yeah, or you train, at martial arts or something. In the event something happens, or you get your skills up, you're ready to protect your family. Blah blah blah. Whatever. But like to do it for the value of just to harm another person, man, that's.
I think of like the hypocrisy in it for real, because if you kind of have like that Christmas Scrooge where you have these three spirits that come to you and show you the hypocrisy of what it would be if the things that you celebrated happened to you, you wouldn't celebrate that no more.
Well, there was I don't know, Bizzle has a track that he talks about that where he says something like, Snoop Dogg's son got killed, but in the song, I don't know all the lyrics of the song, but basically he's saying like Snoop Dogg's son got killed, but you want everyone to mourn over your son getting murdered, but you provided a soundtrack, and most of your soundtracks have been about murder and the celebration of evil. So like, which way are we supposed to go? Are we supposed to mourn your son or mourn everybody else who died because of the tracks you've been putting out all
that
these
happened to me. So I was, it don't matter because I was doing it outwardly to other people, but because it hits me home, now it's different. No, that you're a hypocrite. Like, and yeah, that was all of those things, that video of that guy dying, The Bachelor, those are all somebody's daughters, and that hits home in a real way to everybody if it's a part of you. Mm-hmm. But we're so disconnected right now that if it's not immediate family, if it's not immediate, I can reach out and touch you, man, that's no, what is that saying? Like, no, out of sight, out of mind. Like, it doesn't matter to me. Like,
yeah, it's the desensitizing of our culture too. We have so much of what we would describe as evil presented on television, and it's just so much. We're just so saturated with it that there's no the mourning of evil. Scripture says to abhor evil, like to have disgust and not want to. There should be no celebration of evil, but we've come to a place where we are bombarded with the norm that sin is okay. Sin is just what we do, is just who we are. But when sin happens to us, when it's not just entertainment value, right? It's not just the video game. It's not just the whatever e-news. It's not just
GTA's 16 lives have to go to the hospital, a bunch of lives have to go in the grave. How many times have we played GTA and wanted to go ham on I'm just going to turn it on and not do a mission. I just want to kill. Mm-hmm. And that's the decent, but it happens in real life. And now we have to, it cut off a little bit for a second.
Cut off a couple times already.
That's the second time.
Are you hitting the cord by accident, maybe?
I might be.
Everything's good. Everything's running. Recording.
Okay. We'll just have to cut that part.
It might have just been our headphones, though, too.
Maybe. Move this a little bit. There you go. Okay.
So you have, like, this GTA where it's like, I turn it on and I just want to kill everybody. I want to rob this person. Then I want to run this person over. Then I want to hit this person. And you're killing massive amounts of people. But then it happens in real life and some guy does it. And now it's wrong. No, it was wrong when we put it in the minds of everybody and allowed for all this to happen time and time again. For it to be unreal to me doesn't make it less real to someone else when they believe it. So it's really all on how you believe it. If you want to be subjective with it and say, hey, I'm playing this video game, but man, this is real to me. Like, I want to go out there and do this.
Right.
Like, I'm going to play this video game. There's some kids that know more about guns than, I mean, if you can really look at it, I'm sure kids nowadays know more about pistols and rifles and than ever before in history, because it's the norm. And it's scary because the Bible tells us of a time when the good things are going to be looked at as bad and the bad are going to be looked at as good, and it happens without you knowing. The blanket.
Yeah, I remember watching that O.J. Simpson series, that show that came out. That was about the O.J. trial, and played by Cuba Gooding Jr. and stuff. It was a really good show. But I remember that time. I was in New York when that happened, and the whole incident, and all those, all that time of watching the court cases, because there was nothing else on TV except the court case, and how easily it was ignored that 2 people were brutally murdered. Like, regardless if OJ did it or didn't do it, I think the focus started to come away. Well, not that I think, it absolutely came away from the reality that 2 people were brutally murdered. And if let's say, the Juice, he didn't do it, great. Glad an innocent man didn't go to prison for that crime. And anyone's opinion, we're not talking about the case right now, but the reality is there should be mourning over the fact that there were 2 people brutally murdered. But there was such a celebration for somebody getting acquitted that there was like a lack of sensitivity, a lack of empathy for those people who lost lives. And I mean, I think right now the focus of the conversation is violence being just evil. But what does evil really look like in our culture today beyond the obvious of violence, of sexual immorality, of lying, stealing, cheating? What are the things that you guys seeing?
I mean, I think even judgment too is something that's funny. Going on your OJ trial, you can very easily fall into that pit, even if it was right. Celebrating, crucify this guy. Like, right. Like I'm celebrating the fact that I want you to lose. Like, even if all of the chips are saying and everything's saying, yes, you are a bad man, but to celebrate that judgment, is that my right? Is that my place? Is that borderline evil? If you're completely wrong, though, like, you can be justified in the fact that, yes, judgment should come upon, but are you justified in taking it to the next route and celebrating that judgment?
That's a good point. That's a good point.
And I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be to the extremes as well. Say, for example, in social media, I'm a blogger, so I'm constantly on social media now.
All day.
But I came from basically Tumblr. Tumblr is, everyone knows it to be, say, for example, the extremes of it, but also you can have the good section of it. But that's besides the point. You can see it, like, say, for example, Facebook, Instagram, where say, for example, a girl posts a picture of herself in a bikini. What do? We either like it or share it. We're basically putting that as a sense of, we're not really looking at it. Say, for example, if that was my daughter, or say, for example, that was someone close to you, what you're looking at it is lustful. Like, you're saying, oh, she looks good, I'm gonna like it, and then I'm gonna share it with my other friends so that they can like it. And then you basically see in the comments people talking about, like, oh, snap, I'll take her down, this and that. And basically the new word of the day is savage. People are like, oh, y'all savages. But I mean, we see that rampantly keep going on. It's little things. So you'll see, for example, also, like we were talking about previously in the other episodes, where we're accepting things that are outside. So we'll start to pick and choose things we like things in the culture. So you can say, for example, rape. Another culture can think rape is amazing, but you'll be the one that's sharing say, for example, a post. Like, I saw an article that came out in February about this guy that just was defending pedophilia. like pedophilia, like kids having sex with kids, something that should be to
adults having sex with
adults,
kids.
Yeah.
adults. I mean, you guys are fathers. I'm an uncle. So if someone was literally deeming that acceptable, no matter who it is, I'm going to go off on them because should be wrong.
I mean, it's going there. The direction of our culture, it's going there. You know, it's going in the direction where it is now natural for a man or person to want, you know, have a certain type of desire, and there's no more like mental illness. There's no more like, you know, bad behaviors or behaviors that should be deemed unacceptable. And I think really that's, you know, what we looked at last week in the Escaping Cults episode. In the beginning, we played that clip from the apologetics group, and they talked about a lot of the cultish activity that's coming up and that's being accepted. You can blame the church for not standing up and being more vocal, and you could almost say, you know, it's the fault of the church in many ways, and it's the fault of everyone, because all of us fall short of God's glory. All of us are sinners. But you know, when it comes to how the culture at large has kind of migrated into a position where the definition of life, the definition of sexuality, you know, and what is deemed evil, what's not deemed evil, you know, the church has been silent in many ways, or the church has put too much emphasis on things that are not important, i.e., you need to, you know, celebrate. You need to come to church and clap the way you do at the Orlando Magic game. Like, really, fam? Like, is that scripture? Is that a need? Is that totally necessary for the sake of the redemption of the people, that you would have entertainment value in the church to such that we're clapping and cheering? Like, is that totally necessary? Or are you just kind of imposing a new rule that doesn't exist in life? Like, that's not a life rule. That doesn't make difference between someone's redemptive path, and you know what I'm saying? Like, you just kind of created something, doesn't make sense. So, you know, I think the church creating extreme emphasis on things that don't matter, or putting extreme emphasis on particular types of sins, and not giving enough attention to the reality that we are all sinners in need of grace. So the church in many ways has shunned entire people groups when Scripture does not affirm that. In fact, Scripture is exclusive as far as who is doing the redeeming, but it is inclusive in who has the ability to be saved, who God has opened the doors and the window for people to come to Christ, and whom God will choose to come to a fallen humanity and redeem any one person. All have sinned, fallen short of the glory of God. Not one is righteous. Not one desires God. And that he would come in his grace and reach down to any one person and actually say, there is no Jew or Gentile. No, you know, in my eyes, you know, all of you. I want all of you. I want everyone, regardless of your where you're from, regardless of your social status, your economic status, your education, regardless of you know, and that's not found in any other worldview where everyone is accepted, regardless of everyone, because everyone needs Jesus.
So we put the walls.
I mean, we put walls on specific people groups that we see to be more sinners than others, but God is calling all men to repent and believe. For all men, even those people that are sitting in church, even the people that are preaching in church, that there would be a continuous repentance of the recognition that we are all sinners. That even while doing this podcast, we are not the void of the fall. Like, we are still wrestling with the reality that we see the fall. We are We have evil intentions many times. We have evil desires many times. We ourselves, the people who are talking on this episode right now, we at times celebrate evil. Mm-hmm. And there's things I wrestle with all the time where I'm like, I'll give you total justification as to why I do something or why I listen to something or why I watch something. Mm-hmm. And it may seem justified in your eyes, maybe in God's eyes not, because God said, be holy as I am holy. What?
Yep.
That's a whole nother level of holiness.
Yeah,
if he said, be holy as I am holy. So would he watch UFC? Is he celebrating UFC the way I celebrate UFC? Because I'll be honest with you, I'm going to watch me some UFC. In fact, I'm going to invite some of y'all to the crib to watch some UFC in a couple weeks. So I'm just letting y'all know.
Some Max Holloway and Jose Aldo.
Max Holloway, he put in the work, you know, but it's like, is that, and that's what we have to determine really as we're talking on the show, like, is that truly evil? Is it just sport the way I see it? It's just sport. It's regulated. There's a regulation body. There's, you know, there's rules to it. It's not just people randomly going around doing violence. There's a referee. There's things involved that create parameters where it is truly a sport. And the art itself that is learned, there's a lot of discipline. There's a lot to it. It's not just somebody walking up to somebody down the street and knocking them out. Like there's difference there. But to what extreme do you go?
Well, I think that question dives into the idol question, to idolatry. And that's where it really tips over, because I really think now that I have my wife and I have my daughter and our home, I'm really trying to find a balance between. And I think that balance of how much time do I really give? I was thinking about it the other day, and I really only see my daughter on a work day because she goes to sleep at 9 o'clock. I really only get to spend on 4 days out of the week, not even an hour. So where is that balance? What am I putting in front of my daughter that would deem it more important, I would dare to say, than spending quality time? Not that there is a time frame, because then that's the next question. Well, how much time is enough time? But I know that an hour just isn't enough. When I'm comparing it, when I'm doing a comparative analysis of the things that I'm also spending time on.
So you mean like, all right, so let's say you get out of work and you spend an hour and a half at the gym. So you spend that hour and a half at the gym dedicated to your physique and your health, and then you come home and you only spend an hour with your kid. Is that the kind of balance?
That's what I'm
about?
saying.
Okay.
I wake up in the morning.
I needed that clarity.
Yeah. Okay. I see my daughter and I count that. I see my daughter for about 2 minutes, right? I always do it. Just sit there and just so that I can take in, okay, you're here, I love you, and then I'm out. Over 8 hours, I'm out, a 9-hour work shift. Then I make it home. There's a drive there, drive back. That's another hour. So, there's only so many hours in a day, and then I want to go shoot around, or I want to go work out, or I want to go and do whatever it is that I'm doing. And I think that's the question. That's when it becomes what you're saying, and it will dive into an idolatry. Am I idolizing certain things? Because there must be at least a balance, in my opinion. There must be a balance. And what does that balance look like? So I can take my daughter, put her in that same equation, and I can take her out and I can put God there. Mm-hmm. And I can say, okay, out of a 20-hour period, it's like that PlayStation network signing on and signing off. PlayStation Network, I spoke about it one time, how PlayStation will tell you how many hours you've put into a specific game and how many hours you've put into your PlayStation. And you can look at that, and sometimes it'll be something massive.
And sometimes even in computer video games, when you spend more than 2 hours, they'll tell you spent 2 hours. Do you want to take a break?
They're like, yo,
you spent
chill
more than 2 hours.
out.
Do you want to spend time with Jesus?
Right?
Like,
do you have a family? A, B, C, or D. You know,
We will not be held liable for the fact that your relationship with Jesus has suffered.
everything else is crumbling, and it's true. If I spend all of my time on a video game, what suffers? My game doesn't suffer. I'm on the top of the game.
On point.
Yes, come see me, right? Lord Suave. No numbers behind it. You know what I'm saying? but everything else, nah, it's for real. It's Lord Suave. It's Lord V Suave. Lowercase V, uppercase
L.
Got
Gonna
him.
get mad friend with
Right?
us now.
So you guys already know. I switched over from Xbox to PlayStation, though.
So is that now? So you're not religion, man. He's Lord Suave.
I'm Lord Suave.
That's it. Lord Suave from now on.
That's it.
Done.
So you see that, and it's like, yeah, my game is on point because I'm putting hours in the gym. You know, that's my gym. But something has to, if I put any value on anything else in my life, that now has to suffer. Because my uncle, from the day that I started training boxing, which I think I was throwing my first punches at 7, he said, son, no matter what you think you do, when you get under those lights and you get in that ring, it's all going to show. You get what you put into it. If you don't run, that's fine. You're going to get what you put into it. If you don't want to work out, that's fine. You get what you put into it. If you don't want to do shadow boxing because you think it's stupid, all right. Well, you get all of the stuff that you want to put into it is what you're going to ultimately get out of it. So that's the question that I think we pose to ourselves and I pose to the listeners is when we're looking at this subject of celebrating evil, that has to be connected with the subject of what are we celebrating in our lives?
Dang.
What we surround ourselves with.
So if we are celebrating certain things in our life, do we have a healthy balance? Because we can't get carried away and think that there's perfection. There's not perfection. Perfection walked and died and got resurrected. So that's not what we're aiming for. But we're smart enough. He's given us intellect to understand that there should be a healthy balance. And I challenge us here as brothers to take a look at our balance, really, as I've been doing this week and really being appalled at the fact, like I told my lady, like, I'm not doing nothing this weekend. And she's like, nothing? I'm like, yo, take everything off. If we have anything, I want nothing. Because I need to I need to get in with this relationship with my daughter and my wife. And I want something out of it. I want that love. I want my daughter to run to the door when I get home. I want my wife to feel like that piece of the puzzle when it comes to our marriage together and our life together is something mutual and something loving that she's crazy to see me when I get home. But yo, if when I walk inside, I jump on that couch and I turn on that TV, or I walk inside and
watch that game.
To watch that
right.
game, you know what I'm saying? To praise that guy, to jump up and scream. So maybe it's not the screaming, the jumping up. But yeah, I think after I do that so many times, my wife is going to say, just like the pastor told me, you know, well, why don't you jump up and scream for me? You won't even use the bathroom because you don't want to miss this play.
Dang.
And then you'll go and run and do, but when I ask you to do one thing around the house, is kind of like, yo, am I not more important than that game? And you have to, honestly, no one's going to say yes, but yo, your actions are speaking louder. Like my uncle says, you're getting what you're putting into it, son. You know every stat. You were there for the finals games. You saw that crossover. You screamed at that dunk. Yo, to people that don't even know you. Right? But yo, you're getting what you put into it. How much time have you spent with your daughter? An hour? Less than that? Yo, does she even know you? Like, does she really, really know you? How much time do you spend with your wife? So this is real stuff that we have to ask ourselves. And that's what this question goes into. what are we celebrating? Is it evil? Is it good? And let's take it further and say, how are we doing that? How much time are we celebrating it? And is there a healthy balance? Because those players, something got sacrificed.
Yeah, I mean, innately, maybe something categorically is not evil. And I don't remember if we defined categorically. I think we said, within, the commandments and obviously anything that opposes God and what he's commanded is deemed evil by definition. The moral evil, the physical evil of the world that we can see. And RZIM ministry or RZIM, they categorize it and they say, if you say there is evil, then you are obviously saying that there is a good. But if there is a good, what is the standard to determine what is good and what is evil? Yeah. And if you say there is a standard or there is some kind of law that says this is what it is, then there has to be a lawgiver. And then so who is the lawgiver then? Is it you? Is it me? Mm-hmm. Is there a transcendent being that is above all of us, who has more knowledge and more wisdom than we do, that is making that differentiation between what is good and what is evil? Because then he reaffirms himself in the presence of evil, which is insane. In the presence of evil, most people will shun away from God and say, see, this is evil. This is evil, something that's an obvious evil. Mm-hmm. This is evil. So that's murder, that's rape, that's this, that's that. So that's evil. Therefore, God doesn't exist. But actually, on the contrary, if you impose and you propose that that is evil, then you're actually affirming that there's a need for God, because there needs to be justice carried out for the presence of that evil. But the question that, and the thing that we're talking about now is, if something is not obviously evil, which is crazy. The obvious
not
evil.
In those 10 categories.
Yeah, the obvious evil, dude getting shot up, people getting knocked out, getting raped, heads getting chopped off, blah, 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 whatever. Yeah, but the things that are subtly evil, the things that are now being accepted in this culture in terms of how you determine what gender you are. Mm-hmm. Not the transcendent God who created you, but you determine, you know what, today I'm this, today I'm that.
Or your genes.
Right, or your genetic makeup, or, or hey, I'm Denzel Washington. I'll be Denzel Washington today. Oh, there's nothing wrong with the fact that you really believe you're Denzel Washington. That's just how you are for right now, so everything's fine. Maybe everything's not fine. Maybe there's an identity crisis. Maybe there's a need for something in this person's life so that they can not have to be Denzel Washington. You know what I'm saying? Like, the things that seem to be a subtle evil that this culture now is eliminating as evil and celebrating as good. And it's crazy when we think about it in that way, because scriptures pointed out pretty boldly. I believe it's in Psalm 52. Yeah, just pulled it up now. Psalm 52 says, you love evil rather than good, falsehood rather than speaking the truth. You love every harmful word, you deceitful tongue. And it kind of speaks to how we as people that are deceived away from the gospel, where it talks about, I think it's in Timothy, where it says their ears are tickled, or they have itching ears, so their ears are tickled by every falsehood. Essentially what you want to hear, the things that you're drawn to, the sin that we truly desire, that we hunger and thirst for. The reality is we all hunger and thirst for things that oppose God. Yep. And so because we do that, because we're in a fallen condition and we hunger and thirst for those things which oppose God, then we want to hear things that affirm us in our evil. Like, we want to hear that it's cool to smash these girls. You know what I'm saying? It's cool. It's all right to do X. It's due to do, whatever. And it's not. It never was. It never was. That's why Christ had to come and pay the penalty for sin, because we are not capable of doing that, because we want to hear the falsehoods. We want our ears to be tickled. We want, even within the realm of what of the church, we want to hear things that will tickle our ears. We want to hear things that we're affirmed in, the love of money, the lust of the flesh, lust of the eyes, the pride of life, things that are even promoted in what is quote unquote the body of Christ. The lust of the flesh, lust of the eyes, pride of life, loving God, loving money rather than God. Those things are endorsed in many, many circles. And that is not of God. That is evil. Yeah. And you gotta run from evil. You gotta run from evil. Confront it, in a fashion that you abhor evil, and you're like, yo, I can't do this. Particularly when it's the subtle evils that you're talking about. Yeah. The things that
as human beings,
they take over.
Science tells us that we need to eat, right? Like you can go 3 days without food, or I think even longer than that without
apparently
food.
Now research is showing you can go mad long. You're just not eating just because.
And you can go, I think it's up to 2 days without water.
I think that one's pretty.
And shelter, you can only go a few days depending on the elements that you're surrounded by without shelter. That's also a part of it, not just that. So you're looking at this thing, and scientifically, humans are hungry. No matter what, we come out of the womb and we are hungry.
My daughter's always
right. But we're not just hungry for food. We are also this kind of outward, not so much, it could be looked at as spiritual if we want to get spiritual with it, but we really have this like intellectual mindset where our minds are hungry for something. We have to eat or need something. Even that person in the corner of the room that you're like, that person doesn't care about anything. Like he's so introverted and is just on his own level. Like, I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to do that. I'm not down to play this. Leave me alone. He or she is still hungry for that, to be an outcast, to be whatever it is. And so we look at it, we can go only a certain period of time without this food. And then you look at the crisis that we're having right now with people killing themselves that's been going on for 6,000 years, right? And what's going on with our culture right now with this identity crisis, and it's linked to the fact that, it's linked to the fact that we're hungry and we're feeding off of certain things. But these things like this telephone and what's on this phone and the subtle things that we're talking about, it doesn't fill us enough. So we need more. We need a little bit more of this because I still need an identity, and I'm not finding it right now.
We have a God-sized hole in our hearts.
That's it. And there's something that will fill this void that we have scientifically that we need to eat, we need to feed, and our body, for some reason, we're born and we have a desire to do something. Everyone has a desire to do something. But it's crazy because when you take it to the extreme, all of your desires are fleeting. All of them are, you're going to fail in your desires. You're going to fail. You want to be a good father, you're going to fail. You're going to have your successes and then you're going to have your wins. But no matter what, my life is not about this desire that I have inside of wanting to just fill this void with all of these things. So it's crazy that you see Jesus and he tells us, I see this void. And let me tell you what, I see the void, and I'm not so much telling you that you are going to change or that you need to change when it comes to the fact that you have a void. I'm telling you that you're a sinner. But I'm telling you that I'm going to live this life that you're wanting is not going to happen with you alone. I'm going to live it. And then he goes on and he lives this life of full fulfillment. of this entirety of fulfillment. And then he says, now let's switch spots. Let's switch spots. Maybe it's not a physical switch, but it definitely happens on a mental end.
It's a positional switch.
A positional switch where there's this beautiful exchange saying, you know what? I did what you're feeling that you need, I did. And now I'm going to take your burden and you're going to come with me. And I'm going to take yours. And in that, we can speak to that as brothers in Christ that have felt this peace that surpasses all understanding. This understanding that three brothers can come together knowing that we are sinners, that we have sinned, we will sin, and we're going to sin. It's just going to happen. But the fact that we have this trust, this kind of like this beautifulness of knowing that you have somebody that's there and that has walked that life, that's doing it, and the fact that you have this bond and this relationship with the Jesus that's with you and that's saying it's still okay. Mike, you don't need to change your hair. Not that changing your hair is wrong or right or whatever it is, but whether you're bald or whether you're not, I still love you. And how many times have we really heard that no matter what, I still love you? And that, I think, is not said enough. And we can look at the church and kind of point a finger and say, hey, you've done wrong. But I mean, it's not all the church's fault. Mm-hmm. It's just humanity right now as a whole right now. We're not that. Like, we do care. We care so much about the fact that, man, this guy showed up with these type of jeans to this church service, and you have the audacity to wear that hat, or you didn't clap, or you didn't do this. So it takes it to a whole nother level. Yeah. And it's that right there. You have a God that's looking at you and saying, you're enough. Like, you're enough because I'm enough.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, there's a self-justification thing that we all have. We all are seeking self-righteousness. We all seek to be self-justified. And many people, even those who don't hold to a religious affiliation, they still want to be seen as righteous. We all want to be righteous. Mm-hmm. We all want to make sure that, you know, whatever we're doing, even if I'm not of any religious affiliation and I'm not cool in your eyes, I need to find a group. I need to find someone. I need to find someone or something that's going to tell me that what I'm doing is all right, even if it's obviously evil, even if it's categorically, morally, tangibly evil. I need to have a group. I need to have an affiliation. I need to have something that affirms me in my sin, rather than doing what you said, where there's an acknowledgement of my sin, but there's an acceptance of me as an individual, and that Christ is doing the transforming of who I am. Because in reality, I can go from evil to evil to evil to evil. I can go from, you know, being this guy who was a player and a guy who was violent and a guy who cheated his way through life and lied my way through promotional opportunities and blah, 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 blah. And God comes and transforms, and God comes in his relationship. I confess my sins. He completely overwhelms me with his love and his grace. And suddenly, because of that, a few years in the faith, a few years of walking with him, if you have a true understanding of the gospel, you shouldn't be in a position where you become self-righteous. You shouldn't be in a position, but it happens. We're human, where we start to convince ourselves we're good. We start to convince ourselves that we're better than we are. So we go to a different evil. Yeah. We forget where we came from. We forget the sin that we've committed. And suddenly we are affirming ourselves, and we're making ourselves self-righteous in the avenue or among the people that would accept us in our version of celebrating evil, right? So even though we may not consider ourselves to be part of secular groups that celebrate obvious evil, but suddenly we become into that subtle category that we've accepted Christ. In reality, Christ accepted me. And after a few years of in the faith, and you start to lose those friends, because the friends, they're gonna leave. When they know you're in Christ, they're gone. When they know that you can do what you used to do, many times, not always, but in many times, they're gone. And you find yourself now in a place where you're serving God, and people are clapping and applauding you because you sound intellectual, you dress a certain way, you look nice, you sing real nice, you play an instrument, you shaved, whatever. And your appearance is the way they, and suddenly you start to feel yourself. You start to really think you're somebody. You start to really think that and you become self-justified. And then you become no different than the person who is secular, who's self-justifying themselves. And one of the things, I think it's Tim Keller who says it, and my pastor talks about it all the time, there's like two extremes. There's the religious, and then there's the irreligious. And those who become religious lose sight of the gospel. They lose sight of their position in Christ. The positional righteousness that you were just talking about, that exchange, they lose sight of that positional righteousness. And then on the other extreme, the irreligious, they too are self-justifying. They are justifying themselves. They're creating their own standards and their own religion in order to present themselves as justified. But both religious and irreligious need the gospel. They're both in need of Christ because both fall short. It's crazy. Both fall short of the glory of God, but both fall short of their own standards. Mm-hmm. Think about that. How often do you create your own projects and you fall short of your own projects?
Every time.
Your deadlines. You don't meet your deadlines.
You don't.
You fall short.
And that's a horrible life to live, a life of expectations not being met. So we see how evil. Yeah, we're done. Oh, I was. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Sorry,
you can cut it all out. Yeah. So we see how evil is just the word evil from last week, and now coming to this week, how evil is this can be something so strong and so out loud and so in your face evil, but then evil can also be something that creeps behind you and is right next to you the whole time. And it's this subtle thing that you would have never thought unless you take a pause and step back and actually evaluate yourself. You could be celebrating evil. And so you guys already know. You guys know where to hit us up, right?
Is that proofbeyondreason@gmail.com?
That's proofbeyondreason@gmail.com. Next week, make sure you guys are tuned. Every single week, we're going to be posting this on Saturday. So if you guys want to follow us, Saturday morning before 10 o'clock, that's our deadline. Hopefully, we don't fall short of that one.
We have already.
So by a full week, to our own in the back end. And so shout out to Matthew Movement, MatthewMovement.com. Wear What You Believe. Go check them out. Some clothing with a purpose on there. And you guys already know, man, this is, I got like 19 names right now. This is Ivan the Average coming at you. Man. This is Religion Man coming at you. This is Lord Suave coming at you.
You better
know what I'm saying?
That.
That's it. The lowercase v capital L. This is horrible. But and we got Geology with us and Mike the Baptist, and make sure you guys stay true, man.